Do you believe that Gary Gensler, the chairman of the SEC, should be in jail? Do you think that Ripple has been treated unfairly when we now take a look at FTX and the way that they have been treated by the SEC? Do you think other players in the crypto space should have also paid more attention to American crypto regulation? I personally think yes. And that's why I'm making this video to quickly update you guys on a little bit more of the interesting news on the regulation side. This will include three main topics. I'd say the regulation turf war by the CFTC and the SEC, a little bit about the connection between Sam Bankman-Fried, Gary Gensler, and the whole circle, and a little bit about the Ripple treatment. As again, Ripple right now is in a critical lawsuit with the SEC, yet they have been kind of treated like garbage in the past. I could also include a little piece about Coinbase and how they've been pretty hypocritical, but honestly, I think that's a topic for a different day. As the situation with Coinbase really briefly is, they were pretty hypocritical towards Ripple because they delisted XRP and did not support them in the lawsuit at the start, even though they had a very rigorous due diligence process to actually list XRP. Because the SEC recommended it, they took it off. And then the SEC sued them for many other cryptos that they then didn't take off. But since Coinbase has now joined the lawsuit and is fighting on behalf of Ripple, I can't really hold it to them, as at the end of the day, with crypto regulation, partially it's eat or be eaten, whereas if they joined Ripple earlier or did not delist XRP, maybe they would have had a lot more crap over their heads, could have been. So maybe it's just strict business. After all the most recent allegations against Kevin O'Leary for basically supporting FTX to the core, explaining all the good parts about him being a very big advocate, he said now as a response, "I'm not trying to make friends, I'm just trying to make money." And Leah came in to say, "I don't think you made either friends or money with FTX, but the point is still quite clear. A lot of people are not here to help out, they're just trying to make a bag." And to be honest, that's not too weird. So I don't think about it too often. The Citadel CEO said recently on the FTX debacle, the turf war by American regulators has got to end. Right now, one of the most key topics that's ongoing is the battle between the CFTC, some other American regulators, kind of random ones, and the SEC. And the turf war specifically shows that nobody really knows where these exchanges or where these cryptocurrencies fall. And for that reason, nobody can make the proper rules. The CFTC has tried to claim things over, but then the SEC has stepped in to take things back. But again, even Elon Musk, and I use his name a lot because he has so much influence over this space, even he himself is picking a fight with the SEC right now. Twitter Unleashed is so much fun, as basically he's been going against the whole Sam Bankman-Fried, Gary Gensler connection by stating that it is kind of funny that this stuff is going on. But like Matthew here at the bottom right says, this type of infographic is necessary to clean up our economy. What it basically showcases is Sam Bankman-Fried was connected to Gary Gensler because he's an MIT graduate, where Gary Gensler was the former professor of the MIT. Caroline Ellison, the CEO of one of his best firms, was also dating Sam Bankman-Fried, and he's the daughter of Glenn Ellison, who is a professor at economics at MIT, who's also Gary Gensler's former boss, and so it all connects to one another. We've talked before about how in mainstream media, people are really trying to make Ripple look bad, and are trying to compare these narratives between Ripple and FTX, and sometimes even Brad Garlinghouse and Sam Bankman-Fried. I saw that yesterday. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to compare these two cases, and it doesn't really compare at all in any way, actually. Yet I've seen on the internet exactly that, where people are literally defending Sam Bankman-Fried. But when it comes to Ripple, well, they're just still being attacked mostly. Now, I cannot complain to the fullest. Ripple's got a lot of support from different parties over the last couple of months, and honestly, the Connect to Congresses for partially Ripple, this is basically where you can connect to a person at Congress to basically put something on the map. In this case here, for an investigation into the SEC's role and failure regarding the FTX fraud, but obviously also to just look into Gary Gensler for what he's done with crypto. And it kind of showcases that honestly, not everything is completely bad. It's just some very interesting treatment between FTX and how the media is portraying him, and Ripple and how the media is portraying him. Again, Sam Bankman-Fried, everybody knows, did some really crazy stuff, but is really well connected and honestly is not getting that much shit for it, and has actually been doing that they were doing a lot of crazy stuff. Here's actually two things. We basically have on one end the Binance CEO who says he basically thinks Sam Bankman-Fried lied to FTX employees, shareholders, regulators, and users. Well, we obviously also have the other side where it looks as if they've been basically given a free pass over longer periods of time, as FTX was also buying tokens before they were listed on their platform, just to dump on their users after listing them, which Coinbase got in a lot of trouble for doing, or actually one specific person. I'd like to state that a lot of these insider trading cases don't get solved because it's kind of hard to pinpoint, I think. But specifically on this massive of a scale, I think they then should have noticed. I mean, he's very well connected to the SEC. They should have had a really tight string on him. But maybe because he was that well connected, they thought he could do no wrong, which is what brought him into this place in the first place. Now, again, FTX was basically front-running an insider trading. And the fun fact is, imagine doing all this and then still losing 10 billion. That is indeed interesting. To get back on the matter, it is kind of interesting how Sam Bankman-Fried got as far as he did when he's been lying to a lot of different people about the situation. But maybe it was all possible because of some puppeteer masters in the background, right? For example, BitBoy here is shouting out, "The puppet master Dan Friedberg is busy scrubbing the internet of his existence. Don't let him plaster this out." Basically, don't let him plaster this everywhere, his face. He was the chief regulatory, or basically the general counsel here, whatever, over at FTX. And there's been multiple different people who have shared a lot of insights into this individual with how he's represented scum in the past and how, well, Sam Bankman-Fried just knows his way around some of the craziest and best lawyers. I mean, guys, have you seen that freaking company sheet of theirs? It's going to be really hard for any regulator now or any lawsuit to pinpoint exactly where the money is. If FTX played it smart, their money is spread over a lot of different entities. And since they might be, based in some random ass country that nobody knows exactly, it's going to be really, really hard to pinpoint all the funds. The only strange thing about it, though, is that all these companies have gone bankrupt. And that kind of showcases then that a lot of them are backed under one of the other ones. But let's just say 134 companies went bankrupt because of the FTX collapse, and I honestly think there's still a lot of stuff hidden that's not been showcased. And so the small conclusion is, I think, again, this is my personal opinion, based on no actual criminal activity that's provable as of this point. This is purely an allegation, purely my own speculative little tiny brain thoughts. I personally think, with only a personal opinion, that Gary Gensler and Sam Bankman-Fried deserve jail. I honestly believe that from the bottom of my heart. I believe they should be in jail for some of the crazy things they've done, and I don't think there's any debate about it. I think they deserve jail for a very long time, and potentially a look at their family too. Maybe some of them deserve jail for some crazy insider trading as well, or some crazy conspiracy or some crazy tax fraud. Take a look at them, right? Again, like I said a little bit earlier, there are already thousands upon thousands of people who have written in the US to Congress to basically get an investigation going. And I honestly think if somebody like Elon Musk put the dot on the map and says, hey, write your Congress and let's actually get an investigation going of sorts, that would then make a whole lot of sense. But guys, I've already said it a couple of different days by now, I believe. The fact that Elon Musk called out Gary Gensler for being connected in this little scheme, or the fact that it's interesting, this will showcase a lot. This will put a lot on the map. I personally think, little matrix right there. You got sucked into the matrix. I personally think that the fact that Elon Musk pointed this out is going to literally change the entire landscape. Now, there are a couple of guys like Senator Cynthia Lummis here, whom is not a bad individual. She's had a couple of very interesting thoughts that I very much agree with. She basically said the FTX bankruptcy wouldn't happen under the Lummis, my mouse is empty, Lummis-Gillibrand bill. Here's why. There would be clear property rights, not your keys, not your coins. Okay. Strong protection and separation of customer assets on an exchange, which is a good thing. Tight limits on digital asset leverage and lending. I don't like that one too much. Bankruptcy protection for all customers. I think that's a really good one again. And transparency into affiliates and connected organizations of an exchange. I think that's a good one yet again. Again, the only thing I'm not so happy with is digital asset leverage and lending, but it depends on how you view it. If we're taking, for example, a classical PE firm, they might want to basically acquire a new company. They have to take on a lot of leverage to do so. That's not necessarily bad. I mean, they do a lot of due diligence, and that's the way that they operate and do business, and it works, right? It's a multi-year plan, but it works. In the same sense, I don't think that taking on leverage, debt, basically same thing, is bad. It just depends on what exactly they're doing it for, what the purpose of it is. It's hard to distinguish, however, between customer leverage and taking on that debt, allowing for that debt versus the debt from the company, because again, it depends on what they're doing it for. I personally think there should be protections everywhere, but you should also let the people be free to make the financial decisions that they want, as long as they basically cannot risk too much where it would hurt too many people if it does end up being the wrong choice. Basically, like she said, allow for debt until a certain point, just be very strict on it, unless this debt is basically used through a manner which you can only hurt yourself with. For example, if you're leverage trading with debt, the worst thing that can happen is that you literally lose all your money. Your own money. You can't lose anybody else's money. Now again, it will be interesting to see whether or not Sam Bankman-Fried really lied to his customers or basically his employees severely, or if they were all aware of this shady situation. I've talked to a lot of people in this space and many of them knew that FTX was doing some shady stuff. Again, we can look further into his family because things are strange right there. Even Elon Musk is going on about this as well, that things are a little bit strange if you look at all the connections and all the donating that he's done, and maybe that's why he's getting off scotch-free and why the media is defending him, which again is not really working that way for Ripple. We've also, however, seen from BlockFi, again, some of the clients or basically companies that was rescued by FTX. One of the employees there said, and he might just be sour, but take it with a grain of salt, but still listen. The only reason FTX bailed us out was to get our users' funds onto their platform to use in their shell game. They applied immense pressure to get BlockFi funds migrated to the FTX custody. Employees were told by executives not to ask questions about the move. And all I can say about that one is, that's very interesting. Now, again, there is more of a discussion that needs to be had. For example, Charles Hoskinson and Ripple are in a very interesting debate right now. Ripple is expanding like crazy, and they actually put up a regulatory framework in the UK right now. That's what they're going for. As far as I've read, they basically sent over to UK regulators what they think that they should do, as the UK is pretty chill right now. And there's quite a lot of updates on Sam Bankman-Fried specifically. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to upload a video regarding what's going on in the FTX situation even before I upload this one, because this is not as time related, you know, the Gary Gensler, a couple of other people at FTX, all that drama that might connect back to Ripple again, it's not as time sensitive as I think. Sam Bankman-Fried is going to get a free pass anyway, like Ethereum got given one. And honestly, guys, that's what the whole Charles Hoskinson Ripple situation is all about. As at the end of the day, I think Charles agrees with everything he says. Thank you, John. I apologize if any of my XRP comments hurt anyone. Let's all move on. He's just basically calling out that all this conspiracy stuff is not necessary. But again, as I presented the fact just quite here, I personally think it's hard to see or hard to believe in no free pass for Sam Bankman-Fried as of this point, and potentially a no free pass for Ethereum, which I didn't cover too much today, but that's the situation that's ongoing. I'm going to read a little bit more into that though, guys, and I'll give you guys a little full scoop potentially later tonight. And all I can say for right now, guys, is if you enjoyed it, make sure you press that like button, and I'll see you guys again in another crypto video later today, another cool update. So make sure you subscribe to the channel as well for more, and again, make sure you press the like button.